All right, with version 1.2 coming very soon, of course, one of the most popular characters and one of the most sought after characters is finally going to be released, which is going to be Kafka alongside Blade. Now, Kafka for sure is going to be bringing a whole new playstyle when it comes to how you're going to build your team, which characters you're going to bring to your team, and today we're going to be talking about all of that alongside her kit, because with her kit is going to lay the foundation of how we style this video, because yes, that kit is going to be much different to the point where we're going to be leveling up some brand new characters, getting some brand new teammates to the roster, because most of our standard support units, healers, all these type of characters are going to have to hit the bench when it comes to Kafka and her best team. So today we are going to be talking about everything in regards to her value and if she's worth summoning on. So let's go ahead and start with her kit, because yes, her kit is one of the most important things to talk about, because as I said, it lays the foundation for the rest of this video. So with Kafka, through her skill and through her ultimate, she is going to auto trigger dots. So this is a very important aspect of Kafka that you really want to benefit from, just because there are a lot of really cool dot characters that we are going to be talking about that are going to help make this absolutely insane with how many times she could possibly pop it with being able to chain your ult with your skill or vice versa. Another thing that's going to be really cool with Kafka, making it really easy to get shock on the enemies, that through her ultimate, which is AoE, and her follow-up attacks that come from allies' basic attacks, you are going to have a chance to inflict shock on the enemy, which is going to make it a lot easier to put these on enemies and also wait for your other characters to eventually apply their dots as well. So for the characters that are going to work very well with Kafka are going to be the characters that are literally on her banner. One of them that we need to talk about for sure is going to be Sampo. Now Sampo, I know some of you might not want to build him, some of you might not even want to look at him, but Sampo is by far going to be one of the critical and more core components of Kafka's team for one reason. Not only does he have really good wind shear application with hitting multiple enemies through his skill and his ultimate, but his ultimate is the main thing that you want to look at, because his ultimate does have increased dot damage taken when you hit these enemies with your ultimate, and it hits the whole wave. Now this is going to be very strong for Kafka, not only because it's going to have a chance to apply wind shear, but since you're going to have not only Kafka's dot, Sampo's dot, and maybe another character's dot, which we'll talk about really soon, you're going to have all of those dots give extra damage because of Sampo's ult. And with being able to re-trigger that with Kafka's skill and Kafka's ultimate, that's going to be very strong. Not only with that, you are going to also get that damage instance when the turn ends too. So that's 3 different damage instances that you possibly have with that damage boost from Sampo. So Sampo is going to by far be one of the most important characters to level up with Kafka. So you want to make sure that you're going to start building him right now while you're waiting for him, while Blade's out. Go ahead and start leveling him up, because you are going to end up using him. Another character that's going to be really nice, which is also on her banner, is going to be Luka, our new 4-star physical nihility character. Now Luka has a lot in his kit and a lot of really cool things in his kit, and it's a really good thing that he's physical, because it's going to make it a lot easier to inflict bleed on the enemy. Now with Luka, through his talent, he's going to end up auto re-triggering bleed, which is absolutely insane. He's going to, like again, make it really easy to be able to burst down an enemy with being able to re-trigger dots really quickly, and also waiting for that end of the turn dot is going to be absolutely amazing. Not only that, his ultimate increases damage taken to the enemy, and also through his skill he's able to apply dot. So all of these things together with Kafka, with Sampo, it all just synergizes very well together. And of course, you're going to end up putting another character in the back for your survivability. Now you can do something really cool, which I ended up thinking about, which is you already have wind shear from Sampo, you already have shock from Kafka, you already have bleed from Luka. Now how do you get burned with a survivability character? Well, we could possibly put Fire MC with the preservation light cone that is going to end up burning enemies when they get hit. This is the way you're going to get all 4 dots and also buff them up with not only Luka's ult, with Sampo's ult, and also re-trigger it with Kafka. So this is very creative and a very cool way of thinking. But of course, if you're going to want to put somebody stronger to be able to make sure they don't die, because Fire MC, although he will apply burn, he won't be able to keep your characters alive if they're taking a lot of hits, especially in the higher floors of Memory of Chaos. Now for the characters that don't work so well with Kafka, I'm just going to go ahead and say possibly everyone, just because yes, all these characters can help. Characters like Silverwolf can help implant weakness, she can also defense down, same with Pella. There's just a lot of really good support characters, Tingyun, Pella, Bronya, Silverwolf. There's just a lot of really great characters. But in regards to Kafka's kit, you really do want to emphasize the re-trigger of the dots, because this is going to do the most of the damage, because you're not going to be building crit rate and crit damage on Kafka for the most point, because you are going to want to make sure you have break effect. You want to make sure you have effect hit rate so that your dots actually land, because this is basically what you're going to want to be doing, because this all revolves around Kafka's kit and not really around her sole personal damage. So there are a couple things you do want to make make note of when you're thinking about Kafka is that not only when you roll for Kafka are you building her and you're leveling her up, you're also going to have to level up all these other Nihility characters alongside Kafka, because I know a lot of people haven't built Sampo, and he's going to be a very core and critical component of Kafka's team. So you do want to make sure that you are leveling him up, you are building him before Kafka eventually comes out. And then you also want to look at Luka. He's a brand new character. He's going to be appearing with Kafka's banner. So yes, this is another Nihility character that you're going to have to be grinding up. You have to get the Stagnant Shadow materials for Sampo and Luka, the traces for them, everything, the light cone, leveling up the light cone, the materials for that. There's just the overall very, very big energy sink when it comes to Kafka and her team, and especially with all these new characters, with all these characters that people haven't built, because yes, Sampo did suffer from him not having a DoT playstyle surrounded around him, or having the DoT playstyle fleshed out by the time he came out. So yes, a lot of people didn't end up building him because he didn't have the conditions to be able to be built, and with him being built, there's just not a lot of teams that he can really shine without Kafka. So with that being said, remember that Kafka is a really big energy sink when it comes to building out her team, because a lot of her core component teammates aren't going to be built, aren't going to be used unless you already built them, which is going to be really good. And with comparing her against Blade, which of course they are in the same patch, Blade and Kafka are going to be both bringing their brand new playstyles. Although Blade is going to be able to have a lot more flexibility in what characters he's going to bring, he can't use preservation characters. He can't use characters that take taunt away from him because he wants to lose his HP. Kafka needs those DoT characters. She can use any survivability character. So there are restrictions to both of these characters. But when it comes to which character I would pull for in regards to, I guess you could say, the most versatility, it would probably be Kafka, just because her DoT damage increase, her DoT damage re-trigger, she's going to have a lot of attacks through her follow-up attack with basic attacks hitting these enemies and re-triggering her follow-up attacks. There's going to be a lot of really cool things we're going to end up seeing with Kafka, and I can really see her being a sub DPS in a type of way that you don't need DoT with a future lightning DPS. I think that is very possible, just because her having follow-up attacks with anybody using basic attacks is really strong. That's going to be happening a lot of the time. She also has an AoE skill and an AoE ult. So there's a lot of really good lightning shield break that she could possibly do and be usable without a DoT team. So I'm really interested in testing her out in the future when she eventually comes out. But other than that, that should be it when it comes to Kafka and what she looks like, how she's going to feel, what she's going to do. As I always say with DPSs, choose the ice cream flavor that you like. All these DPSs are eventually going to end up being the same thing. A character that are going to be doing a bunch of damage, a bunch of numbers, and you're going to have characters built around that character to be able to do those numbers. Just like how Sela has Bronya and Silverwolf, how Blade needs Locha and other characters that are going to be supporting him and debuffing without taking time. There's a lot of different characters that have their own conditions, that have their own characters that they need to be set up with. So it's not like Kafka is the only one who has to have characters to be able to support her. Yes, they are a little bit more niche, and there are characters that aren't going to be so good on other teams, but eventually at the end of the day, all these characters are going to have to be built with another character that's their best friend. And to be honest, that's not Kafka's fault. That's just overall the way you build teams. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. I really am excited for version 1.2, especially all the new relics, the new simulated universe, all the type of stuff that's coming out. I am just super excited. We will be summoning for Blade, we will be summoning for Kafka. Make sure to leave a sub and a like and all that type of stuff if you learned anything new, if you are interested in future content for version 1.2. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one, and peace.